sa mga pagkakasala sa isa't isa, sa aming pagwawalang bahala, sa kalikasan at sa iba pa ninyong mga nilikha.
Hilumin ninyo kami ang aming mga karagatan at mga kagubatan, marapatin na muling maging daliwan ng inyong mga biyaya.
Sapagkat kayo ay patuloy na namamayani sa lahat, maging sa salot na aming kinatatakutan.
Tulungan ninyo kami na mahanap ang lunas sa laganap ng pagdurusa. Mangusap sa bawat puso namin, muling ipadama.
Ang mga patuloy na nangangailangan sa amin, gantipalaan at pagpalain ang mga tumutulong sa nangangailangan, nang sila ay patuloy na tumatalima sa hinihiling aming kaligtasan. Siya nawa.
Please remain standing for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
In a troubled time, a dream of prosperity for our country was suddenly snuffed by a pandemic virulent virus. No nation was Spain is around the corner. Sooner and not later, the virus that gobbled up thousands of lives will itself be laid to rest. Coronavirus, there are those who take advantage of a presumption among others that oligarchs need not be rich. Then he linked the anti-dynasty system with oligarchy, and the topic was my daughter voted 70-11 to deny the grant of franchise to ABS-CBN, obviously instead of the greater good. In my inaugural address 4 years ago, I said that he has the cooperation and support of the state. We made significant programs. We also made available tertiary education and universal health care. Public utility drivers were given assistance to and DILG to look into this. I welcome the passage. The postponement saved much needed government funds and ensured the implementation of projects under the current barangay officials. In the hindsight, the Malasakit Centers Act has proven to be a great help to our less fortunate citizens. One-stop platform in government hospitals. We commend the initiative and work of Senator Bongo in this regard. as well as other significant over the country. These centers will be of great help in ensuring that our people remain healthy and resilient during these challenging times. The Salary and Standardization Law of 2019 increases the salaries of civilian government workers. I hope that this law will inspire our government workers to perform better and encourage young, brilliant citizens to join public service. I appreciate the law of establishing the National Academy of Sports. We can now give our deserving student athletes the training and the support they need to excel in their chosen field of endeavors. With the commitment of key members of Congress, the Executive Department, the FISGOC, or the Philippine Sports Commission, and the Philippine Olympic Committee, we're bound together with one vision to host the 30th Southeast Asian Games. Our athletes prevailed. More than that, we fostered pride, patriotism, genuine sportsmanship, and camaraderie in our South Asian brothers and sisters. Indeed, we won as one. To our business community and the general public, we assure you that the landmark ease of doing business and efficient government service delivery act has been gaining momentum. We are closer to eliminating over-regulation in government services. Frontline processes, including consular services, processing of building and business permits, and the services of overseas Filipinos and seafarers were streamlined. Passports and driver's license validity were lessened to ease the burden of the public. We received a BBB plus credit rating despite ASEAN credit rating downgrades plus to A- last month. Meanwhile, Moody's has affirmed and maintained the country's ratings at Baa2 rather. To understand, because with the light I have mine eyesight is not as good as new. Our fiscal position is strong, our economic fiscal management prudent, and our banking system robust. We are in a better position to weather the crisis caused by COVID-19 global pandemic. We have accomplished significant infrastructure projects under the Build program. I will not dwell lengthily on the nitty-gritty of our infrastructure accomplishments. Now, lest I bore you. Instead, we will release a comprehensive written report of our collective milestones and the details of accomplishments that remind us that perseverance, patience, determination will help us move forward even in the most difficult times. We issued last year the Executive Order number 100, establishing the Diversity and Inclusion Program as national program of the government. We want to end discrimination of persons on the basis of age, disability, ethnicities, sexual orientation, and gender identity and expression, and other character traits. My administration always believed that freedom from illegal drugs, terrorism, corruption, and criminality is itself a human right violation. Part of our efforts to uphold human rights is protection of the rights of children and the right against discrimination. Early last year, I signed Executive Order Number 92, creating the National Council Against Child Labor. Government efforts to protect the rights of children will be amplified to prevent by an overwhelming number of fellow member states in the UN Human Rights Council. Rest assured that we will not dodge our obligation to fight for human rights. My countrymen, there are lessons to be learned from the coronavirus. Could diminish considerably and quickly for reasons beyond one's anticipation. That it is much easier to destroy than build. Government needs to have the support and cooperation of the people if it is to succeed in battling the cause of that crisis. That there are people who ask for compassion but show none themselves. That life, after all, is fickle, like the weather. The gains we achieved for the first 3.5 years were put to a test when the pandemic suddenly struck the global community. While I am aware that the road towards a comfortable life would all be far easy if the pandemic had not occurred. And around the rest of the world, we suffered. The global scale and socio-economic impact of COVID-19 pandemic has been unprecedented. Yet, in the throes of its global health emergency, we have been able to withstand the headwinds generated by this coronavirus. In this regard, I would like to express my gratitude to all those who made possible the steady supply of food, water, basic utilities of our households. And the provisions of basic social services and financial assistance to our people. Our country's food. The dedicated personnel who kept our essential establishment operational. You showed us kindness and selflessness. You gave us strength. You risked your own lives to serve the greater good in keeping the Filipino spirit of bayanihan. I also thank the men and women of the Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases and the National Task Force Against COVID-19 for all the countless hours it spent to keep the pandemic in check and for all the efforts it made to ensure the safety of our people. Let me also recognize the efforts of the local government units that step up and initiated their own response measures to contain effects of COVID-19 and its impact to their constituents have been impact to its constituents. The shadow says it's a period there. I know exactly the difficulties you are undergoing. I pray that the officials of each LGU in our country, from the barangay to the autonomous regions, would set aside partisan politics and selfish interests to do what is right and good for all. Likewise, I likewise issued Executive Order Number 104, which imposed ceilings on retail prices of at least 133 drugs and medicines, and directed a continuous review of the retail prices of others. This proved to be providential now that we are facing a pandemic. To everyone who helped us in this time of great need, maraming salamat po. Let me say that the strength of a nation rests in the hands of the people acting as one with government. In the pursuit of common goals and objectives, when the pandemic struck, I decided to prioritize life over other considerations according to experts. The intervention that the government had put in place prevented as much as 1.3 to 3.5 million infections. To me, even if the numbers were much lower, it would still be and would have been worth the sacrifice we made. Buhay muna bago lahat. We initially encountered difficulties ramping up our testing capacity. We now have 93 accredited testing laboratories nationwide, and we are aiming to conduct 1.4 million tests by end of July and ensure a quick turnaround time of 48 to 72 hours. Under the Social Amelioration Program, we allotted 2.5 billion or 2.5 billion for poor and low-income households who were affected during this pandemic, who thrive on a no work, no pay arrangement. Admittedly, our implementation of the Social Amelioration Program was not perfect, and some opportunists turned crisis into opportunity. We will catch up with you sooner than you think. We came up with the COVID-19 Adjustment Measures Program, extended financial assistance to over 650,000 affected individuals in the formal sector. 110 OFWs abroad and almost 83,000 repatriated OFWs were also provided temporary wage employment to displace marginal workers through the TUPAD project. Our indigent senior citizens were also provided with a stipend for the rest of the semester of the year, current year. This health emergency stretched government's resources to its limits. In response to the Office of the President, worked closely with Congress for the quick passage of the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act. May I again reiterate my thanks to you, the men and women of Congress, for the effort you invested in passing that law. I hope that we can get some or the same treatment of clarity, purpose, and the fastness to support the passage of the Bayanihan Recover to act as one, which is supplement funds for recovery and response against the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. We must facilitate the country's economic recovery. I call on Congress to fast-track the passage of the proposed measure, such as the Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives Enterprises or CREATE Act. This immediately cuts the corporate income levy from the current 30 to 25% and give government flexibility to grant a combination of fiscal and non-fiscal incentives, among others. The Financial Institutions Strategic Transfer, or First Act, will set up mechanisms allowing banks and other financial institutions to dispose of and transfer non-performing assets and loans to asset management companies similar to the special purpose vehicles. Our economic managers have seen infrastructure investment as an effective tool to help spur high growth, attract investments, create jobs, and achieve financial inclusion for all Filipinos. The DBP has resumed the construction of the North Luzon Expressway Harbor Link, the NLEX-SLEX connector, the Cavite-Laguna Expressway, the Metro Manila Skyway Stage 3, the R1 Bridge Project, economic benefits to be distributed, stability in the urban centers, particularly Manila. The TESTA launched online mode of livelihood and skills training. There are 71 free online training to help upskill trainees for the right opportunities. I asked TESDA to come up with special training programs to retool our OFWs so they can find employment. I direct the Department of Agriculture and DTI to come up with the agribusiness and entrepreneurship projects to help displaced OFWs rebuild their livelihood. Further, financial institutions to continue providing low-interest loans to our OFW. Sa mga kababayan ko, inyong gobyerno para matulungan kayo at inyong enterprises or MSMEs by providing responsive government assistance and services capitalization and business operation support as we adapt to the bayanihan po ang sana ang pairalin natin ngayon. This is not the time to drive away leases. During normal times, they were the primary source of your income stream. Now it's time to be fair and compassionate. Come up with an amenable arrangement during the quarantine period. Let us help them recover. We pump prime the recovery and rehabilitation of the MSMEs. 1 billion COVID assistance to restart enterprises or CARES. 100 loans applications worth more than 182.5 million have been approved we are optimistic without incurring penalties and charges. To count on our full support while we slowly try to put the fund back in your local travels. The national government agencies and LGUs must